Hey guys, welcome to the Rubin Report. I'm the guy who designed the Obamacare website, Dave Rubin. I've got Max Lugavere and Bryn Mooser with me, and yeah, we're gonna start with Obamacare because everybody's freaking out. They should have used Squarespace, which is what I told them in the first place. The website is not working, and just to catch you up real quick, the government's back to work, or whatever it is that they do. Remember, they shut down for about 3 weeks because the House GOP didn't really want poor people to have health insurance because that would destroy freedom, the way I understand it. And now people are freaking because the website is not working out. And Kathleen Sebelius, who is the Health and Human Services director, she was on CNN with Sanjay Gupta last night explaining some of the problems. Let's take a look.
He did say that he was angry about this. I mean, do you know when he first knew that there was a problem?
Well, I think it became clear fairly early on, the first couple of days. That
So not before that, though? Not before
No,
October 1st? There was no concern at that point, either in the White House or at HHS?
I think that we talked about having testing going forward, and if we had an ideal situation and could have built a product in a 5-year period of time, we probably would have taken 5 years, but we didn't have 5 years, and certainly Americans who rely on health coverage didn't have 5 years for us to wait. We wanted to make sure we made good on this final implementation of the law. And again, people can sign up. Call center is open for business. We've had 1,100,000 calls. We've had 19 million people visit the website, 500,000 accounts created, and people are shopping every day. So people are signing up. And there's help in neighborhoods around the country that people can have a one-on-one visit with a trained navigator and figure out how to sign up. So people are able to sign up.
All right, so there's a lot of just typical PR BS there. I mean, she's just giving you answers that kind of maybe seem true. I thought the one thing that was really interesting, she said 1.1 million calls to the center, 19 million visits to the website, 500,000 accounts created, as if that was good. Does that seem like a lot? If 19 million people, you guys are web people, if 19 million people went there, did only 500,000 mean to subscribe? I mean, doesn't that show that something's not working?
That's a horribly low number. I think that the government must abide by Facebook's internal motto that done is better than perfect. Clearly, clearly they were happy with the website.
But it's a hard site to put together too. I mean, this is a big project that we're taking on. So don't we have to give a little bit of credit and say a little wiggle room in that thing to be able to just launch it right away?
Absolutely. I'm willing to go with the wiggle room thing. And, well, because the next thing that she said was that we're going to bring in our A-team to fix this. So who did they bring in to start this? Again, I got two web tech-savvy technological people here. Who do you think they brought in the first place to get this thing? Yeah.
The D
Where
team.
was Mr. T?
Why wasn't the A-team coming in at the first place? I think that's a great question. Now bring them in now, but so we'll see. It's the geniuses coming in now.
Yeah, apparently, like what I gleaned from that is that they've been using the same sort of technology contractors for a really long time, and they've gotten sort of lazy in their ability to code or something like that. They just haven't stayed up to date on current technologies, which is kind of awful. If you think about
the same contractors from like 1992 are still building all the sites.
I'm pretty sure they're using dial-up to get this thing going. I mean, it's pretty awful. What do you guys make of this thing about where she said, if we had 5 years to do this, it would have been a lot better, but people need health insurance now. I mean, they had at least a year. Really, how long does it take? I'm willing to grant them that this is a big project, but how long does it take to get a website up and running?
And I think it is a big project, but let's be honest too, it is just sort of a sign-up form in the end. So I do want to give everybody sort of the benefit of the doubt, but it is kind of even if you just redirected them to another site and then collected that little piece of information. Yeah. So I don't know. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, it's.
I mean, Riot could have built the technology for them.
We should have, and it would be a good contract.
Yeah. How many web people do you have?
I've got one genius.
Yeah.
And I think he could have done it, but I need him, so don't try to take him. He is the A-team. Yeah.
The government could pull like an eminent domain thing and steal him from you.
That's a good point. Don't tell them that.
Yeah. But I mean, really though, we're joking about it, but I mean, if you think about it, there are porn sites that are streaming video all day long, literally millions and millions of videos all day long, and they don't crash. So isn't this like the worst thing that could have happened to Obama? That something that his whole signature policy is proving to just unravel right in front of us.
Yeah,
you know?
it's genius that you bring that up. I mean, porn has always typically pushed the envelope forward, technologically speaking. So it's funny.
Maybe that's the A-team then. Is the porn guys?
That would be funny if all the porn sites crash now because all the tech guys
are just making calls to the Valley right now.
Exactly.
Send us your A-team.
The people behind Pornhub.
Yeah.
How do you know Pornhub?
I read about it in the Atlantic.
Pornhub, and that's .com?
.com, yeah.
Never crashes.
Yeah.
Never.
What do you guys think about this idea where she said that, you know, it's now come out that they knew for days that this thing was crashing, but that nobody told Obama. She said in that clip that we just saw, nobody told him for a couple days that this was happening. Do you think they purposely don't tell him anything? Because I feel like this has been sort of a consistent thing. So he can be like, well, I didn't know, so it's not my fault. So I feel like it's sort of like an Independence Day. Remember when they didn't tell the president, Bill Pullman, about the aliens because it was plausible deniability? I feel like they do a lot of that with Obama.
Whose job would it be to tell him, though? Because nobody wants, maybe they just said, who wants to go tell the president? Nobody raised their hand. Because nobody does want to make that call, go down to the office, knock on the door and say, you know, the website's not working.
Right, but shouldn't that guy at least be fired? The guy that's supposed to tell him something? Like how does that stuff not get to the top?
Well, I mean, this is one of the great initiatives of his campaign, you know? So like you'd think that he would be a beta tester. President Obama, right? At least, right?
Yeah. But no beta testing. They didn't even get that far.
I know.
All right, but so last question on this: how much of a big deal should we make this? I mean, this thing. Look, this is going to change the way America is for the near future and probably for the long-term future. So should we grant them just a couple weeks of website screwiness, or is this really a precursor to how the whole program?
I mean, for me, you know, I think it's such an exciting thing that there's going to be a lot of Americans who had never had health care before. So for me, it's like, I don't want it to overshadow the fact that this is a really great moment in our history where people who had never been covered before are about to get covered. So I'm going to give it some time. I think that the detractors certainly wanted something like this to happen because it's easy for them to say, look, we told you it doesn't work. But you know, websites crash all the time. My website crashes when we get insane amounts of traffic. When we're doing this, probably it's going to crash as well.
We're going to crash YouTube right now.
Yeah. So I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. That's my take.
Yeah, I agree with Bryn. I think that uninsured Americans have waited long enough for it. I think that like for them to work out the kinks, you know, it'll be worth the wait.
Yeah. All right, and final thought on this. You know, the shutdown apparently cost $24 billion to our economy, so maybe we could have used a little bit of that money for better web programmers. Okay, let's move on to China because America's not the only one that has problems. China is going through a completely bonkers situation right now. They're calling it airpocalypse. A Chinese city called Harbin is having crazy smog. We're going to show you some video right now and understand this is smog caused by pollution, not fog. Let's take a look. Okay, so again, that is smog, not fog. That is actual pollution. Just to put some of this in perspective, Harbin is home to 11 million people, which is about the size of New York City. Their air quality index score was a 500. They tell us that anything over 300 is dangerous to humans. New York City's on an average day is about 50. Wow. I mean, this is it hard to imagine that humans are putting that kind of stuff in the air, isn't it?
Awful, yeah. But apparently, like, the States went through, you know, a similar situation at the turn of the Industrial Revolution, you know, and I think that, like, China definitely needs to figure it out because 500 sounds awful.
I mean, it's literally off the charts.
Well, I think when you look at these, you know, it's Max, what you're saying is that China does need a wake-up call for environmental policies. And so my hope when you start to see images like this is that the rest of the world turns their attention, and maybe it's a kick in the butt to the Chinese government to take care of it. We saw in London the same thing. In the 1950s, there was a great smog, and that led to the Clean Air Act. So hopefully this is an indication that this is going to also kind of turn things around. Yeah. That's my hope.
And I mean, we had it right here in LA, and now the air quality is a lot better than it used to be. But it's part of this, though, that China's just getting to the point in their economy where we were way back when. So it's sort of, it's almost disingenuous for us to tell them to clean it up because they're just doing what we did a little bit later, right? I mean, is it sort of unfair to now that we've cleaned ourselves up because our economy's past that point.
Well, that's a lot of smog, though, and they're adding so many cars onto the roads at all the times. I mean, it's just there has to be a tipping point for it, and and when you start to see what's happening with climate change and this extreme weather that we're seeing everywhere, there needs to be this wake up from all the countries, especially.
Yeah, and I think that today, just because of how easy and free flowing information is around the world, like I think that they should learn from our mistakes. Like they shouldn't. They should. That's not an excuse that they should just like deal with a 500 level air quality. It's horrible.
Right. But isn't that one of those things where, like, when we all get together to talk about the environment, the United States always wants to cap things lower because our economy is different now, and the nations that are blowing up right now, like China and India, they're like, well, we can't because we're trying to get.
So you're saying it's like the factories of the United States put in China that.
Sort of. Well, I guess at some level.
But if we're all connected, I mean, if our air is all connected from this thing, we have to eventually. And they say that we can still see soot here that comes from China too. So, or certainly what happened in Japan with Fukushima. Now we're seeing the same results of that here. So we have to be able to police some of that at some point.
So actually, the Japan thing's totally sidebar, but we're literally seeing radioactive water now coming to our shores. So that should show people that we're kind of connected.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So just to explain the situation a little bit more, China gives free heating to the people in the north using these coal boilers, and that's why this is all happening in the north of China and not in the south. This was making me think, just on a personal level, for our myopic little lives, that I go to like Trader Joe's here in West Hollywood, and they don't give bags anymore, or you have to pay 10 cents for a paper bag. There's no plastic or anything like that, and you feel like you're doing something good. But then when you see this, do you realize that actually you're just doing it for yourself, and that it's not that you're really, like, the little bag that you would have taken out of Trader Joe's actually isn't saving anybody, but it's sort of making.
You have to be hopeful that it's all making an impact. I mean, that's the whole thing, is that we're in such a dangerous place, I think, with climate change and this extreme weather that we're seeing, that we cannot sort of be defeatist about it, right? And so every step that you do, I think, does matter. And so that little bag does help out. When you look at countries like Rwanda that banned plastic bags, that country has transformed itself. You don't see any trash on the streets anymore. So it can work, but when you look at what's happening in China with the smog, it's absolutely terrible.
Yeah. Even if it doesn't specifically work with our little bags and the little things that we can do here in recycling and that kind of stuff, is there something that just personally is good, like taking sort of a personal responsibility for what you put into the world, or am I being very spiritually deep?
It's, again, like, I think it's not helpful in any way to have a defeatist mentality about it, and to remember that little shifts add up to one big shift, and to vote with your wallet whenever you can when you're checking out. I mean, whether or not you choose a bag at checkout, like, obviously our diets, have a large say in the health of the environment. So there's like little things that we could do, but yeah, I mean, just because 11 million people are drowning in smog, like, we can still do our part over here.
Yeah. Do you guys think we're ever going to fight a war over the environment? Like, if these things keep getting worse, and because we're so connected right now, and if China, let's say, doesn't do anything, and this keeps getting worse, and the smog keeps coming to us, and radioactive water is coming to our west coast, that actually we could end up fighting a true war to sort of control resources and how countries put stuff.
I think it's already happening. I mean, when you look at what happened in Africa, Lake Chad in the 70s was one of the largest lakes in Africa, and now it's almost gone. And those climate refugees moved into Darfur, which then created what happened in South Sudan. So, I mean, it's happening right now. It's going to get worse, I think, especially in the Nile and the valley there, and in the agricultural belt. I think what's scary is that you probably are going to see it in the United States, where people are fighting, states are fighting over resources and who has access to certain rivers. So, I don't want to be alarmist about it, but I'm worried about it. And
I want a prediction. Which two states are going to be the first to fight in the war? What's that going to be?
Probably California, us, and we'll go against. It'll be like LA versus Las Vegas. That's how it'll kind of be.
Well, it's going to be something involving fracking, right? Because they're going to frack from one state into another, and then just the whole state's going to explode, and then
oh my God.
Yeah, but that's a whole other topic. Okay, let's move on. Facebook, have you heard about that thing? I just saw, actually, that Mark Zuckerberg, today they announced he made $2.2 billion in 2012. So, a lot of people are on that Facebook.
Wow.
They just lifted their violent video ban, and this has a lot to do with beheadings. So basically, people were posting all these beheadings that were happening all over the world, mostly in the Middle East. And then in May, they banned it, and they've been reviewing their policy, and as of yesterday, they have lifted the ban, and now you can see beheadings on Facebook again. But we've got a quote from Facebook spokesman. People share videos of these events on Facebook to condemn them. If they were being celebrated or the actions in them encouraged, our approach would be different. We want to draw a distinction between users who want to share events that are important to them and videos that are being celebrated and shared for sadistic pleasure. That's Matt Steinfeld from Facebook. All right, so they're making a clear distinction between, I guess, bad beheadings and good beheadings, or celebratory beheadings or something. I guess this sort of goes to the nature of what is Facebook, and should it be just this open source thing that anyone can put anything on? What do you make on this, about this flip?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know, it's interesting that they would take such a firm stance on violence when they've been so, you know, equally firm against, like, you know, nudity and breastfeeding, that whole controversy.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess it's good if they're allowing people to condemn violence in their own, you know, weird way. I personally don't want to see any of that on my Facebook newsfeed.
Really? So,
yeah.
But what about your Twitter feed? Would you be more okay with it on Twitter? Because I think this does go to the why do we use these things and how we use them all differently.
I mean, the thing is, I know that it exists. I mean, I guess, like, you know, not everybody is as informed, but yeah, I mean, I think that I think it's okay. I think it's okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a look at some of the other things that Facebook has banned. Right now, they're banning nudity, drug use, pornography, promotion of eating disorders, any video that condones violence, images of breastfeeding, only if child is actively nursing, no nipples allowed. I didn't make this up. Yeah, that's actually true. Oh, and this is just fantastic. Let's look at this image of Kylie Minogue. They banned this image of her. She's holding a bear there, and as you can see, they said, we do not allow photos that contain nudity, drug use, or violence. Now, it appears that the microphone looks like the bear's penis, I suppose. I haven't seen a bear penis before, but I guess that's what's happening here. And Facebook actually took that picture down. So does this just sort of show the subjectivity and how stupid, when you have these big rules for everybody on something as big as Facebook, how stupid these rules are? Unless did that turn you on in any way?
I like that picture, actually.
It was a cute picture.
It was a good one.
Yeah. You know, we had a story on Riot the other day that was about the London Museum of Art is having a new exhibition of Japanese wood printing, block printing from the 1800s, and there was one of a painting of a naked woman, and they pulled it off. They banned me for a day. They banned our whole image. They pulled Riot down for a day, and it was a painting from the 18th century of a beautiful piece of fine art. And it was frustrating to me because I think, you know, it was goes back to part of our culture that is so afraid to show nipples on a feed, but can absolutely show, you know, violence. And to me, I would rather see nipples on my feed than blood any day.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. We're all agreed on that.
That's us. We should start a Facebook group about that.
Speaking of nipples on Facebook, I remember a couple months ago there was a portrait, a painting of B. Arthur that was sold for like $1.1 million on Sotheby's, and they put the picture on there and they took that down. Yeah. So it's even a painting. I don't think anyone's really looking at B. Arthur's painted nipples in a sexual way.
No, it's totally absurd. I mean,
are you, Max?
I'm not.
You might be, probably.
Yeah. But no, I do think it's ridiculous that you can't show, you know, tasteful nudity on Facebook.
Right. So, but do you guys think it should be open for everything? I mean, if so, when they're showing these beheading things, usually it's to expose something awful that's happening. The last time that I specifically remember it was with the Syrian rebels beheading some people, and then it turned out maybe it wasn't the rebels and that whole thing. But shouldn't Facebook just be open sort of for what we all want to, whatever it is that we want? You select your friends.
I don't know I also don't know what the point of it is. I mean, if you're showing it, and I also don't know how you tell if you're condoning it or you're celebrating or it's sadistic in the first place. I mean, for us, with our news site, we spend a lot of time at Riot like saying, look, should we post this picture? Should we not post this picture? Do people want to see it? And we have a young audience. Our posts go up on Facebook. Yeah. So we're really sensitive to that. And people call us out all the time if we put a Facebook post that has a really bloody image on it. That happened with the Boston Marathon. I think a lot of people tried to figure out how we show those images there. Yeah. I always try to be sensitive to it, because if there's not at least an action of how you can help that person, then it is sadistic in that ways. You know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Would you rather it be open for everything, just for the, because you're selecting your friends, so the people that that are seeing it it is a cultivated and sort of
right. I would never say that they should censor anything, especially if the pictures depicting violence don't condone violence in any way. They're being used to sort of say how awful it is. But I personally, I see a lot of things on my newsfeed about, from animal rights activists that are like pictures of animals, undergoing vivisection and things like that. And it turns me off. I don't think that that's the way to rally people around your cause, by using, inflammatory, graphic imagery. It's just not.
Did you guys ever have watch those Faces of Death videos when you were a kid?
I did when I was like 12. My mom was not happy.
I had one friend who always wanted to have a sleepover and play those videos, and I didn't want to hang out with that kid anymore. He was the creepy one. I wanted to just watch like Child's Play or something like that, and this guy wanted to watch those videos. So I unfriended him in real life before Facebook.
That's a great metaphor.
If you don't know what Faces of Death are, it was real killings that they showed on tape. I don't know. I was having sleepovers watching that shit too.
Horrific.
Very weird. All right, well, we've got a perfect segue from what's going on Facebook to bullying, which everyone's talking about basically every day now. And there was an interesting opinion piece in the New York Post suggesting that bullies, because of the way we're treating them, we're going to grow a generation of super bullies. They said that one of the reasons is because of Facebook posts and Twitter and Snapchat and Kik and everything else, that we've separated the bully. You used to have to bully in person, now you can bully separate. So that's sort of empowering to the bullies. And the second point, that parents are not as responsible as they once were, and kids are doing all kinds of things, and the parents are just completely disconnected because they don't see a kid come home with a punched face or a bruised knuckle. And I thought it was kind of interesting because everyone's talking about bullying constantly. First off, I kind of think that we need a certain level of bullying. I'm a little worried about the never-ending bullies are bad thing, because when you get to the real world, there are bullies. And if you've never experienced it as a child, doesn't that set you up for a really rough life?
That's a really interesting take about it. Yeah. I mean, I think that I
just came off as pro-bully, but we'll...
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think it's part of... Look, everybody's had bullies forever growing up from the beginning of time. But I do think, and with this sort of cyberbullying that happens, it's real and it's legitimate. And you can say anything to somebody on Twitter. You can say anything to somebody on Facebook. I mean, when you read the kind of hate that's on comments on stories and articles, it's people can hide behind that stuff.
If you were to read the things that they're saying about us right now below us, it would be
Come on, they're really sweet. They tried out.
Yeah, no, about us, I'm sure it's all great. No, but really, do you think it's any worse, actually, all the Facebook stuff and Twitter stuff is any worse than when we were in junior high school and it happened to our faces?
Yeah, because I think it's a lot easier for cowards to hide behind the veil of anonymity these days and just say whatever they want and go completely unchecked. I think that when you're face to face, there's still the accountability of okay, well, what if the kid that I'm bullying, has had enough and wants to punch me in the face? That doesn't exist on the internet,
Right.
But didn't it happen where you'd write on the blackboard, so Max sucks, and you put that on the blackboard, and then everybody would come in and see that?
Right.
You'd get in a lot of trouble, I feel like, if you did that. So maybe there's the same sort of, you got to put the same sort of rules.
Do you think part of the problem is we've taken violence, so we've shamed violence to the point that in the old days, in the 1980s, let's say, there were a lot of parents, I'm sure, that would, if their son was getting bullied, they would have said, well, you got to just punch him in the face, and then he'll stop bullying you. And actually, that really works most of the time, I think. And now we're so afraid of violence at all costs that you would never say that. If you were to say that to your kid now, you'd be shunned, right? If that came out that you said to your kid, punch the bully.
Did that ever work? Did the punch the bully thing
ever
work?
Worked.
I don't think it does, because I think that your parents are like, oh man, you should stand up and punch him, and then he's bigger than you because he's bigger than you in the first place, and it never happens like it does in the movies where you one punch, he goes down, the girl runs up. I don't know. It never happened for me.
Is that just a movie? So basically Biff in Back to the Future. That's my main thing. You
can't punch that guy.
You can't punch Biff. That punch would have never.
Did it ever work for you?
Or were you the bully, Max?
I was not the bully, but I always tried to talk my way out of confrontations, and I think that's helpful. I think it's important to equip children with creative faculties so that they're able to problem solve in unique ways. Whereas so that maybe a punch isn't the only way out of a situation.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is kind of why Carrie is so gratifying, right? She's the bullied girl who finally gets back at everybody in a horrific way.
Right.
Boy, that seems extreme.
So you're endorsing lighting the other children on fire?
Yes.
Pretty much.
No. But Carrie's a pretty endearing story because she's the girl who's been bullied her whole life, and comes from really horrible background. And I mean, it's a horror movie, but
I think there's other ways, though, probably.
Right.
Like
There
you're
are.
talking about with words. Maybe
Yes,
Carrie could have
yes,
come
yes.
and, you know, worked with the counselor.
Yeah, that's the
Right.
method that I endorse.
Not as exciting
Right.
a movie, though.
Right.
Especially for Halloween
Right.
time.
Right.
Final thought on this: how much should the parents actually be responsible? Because this is the new thing now. We're hearing that a lot of times the parents do know what's going on, and now people are trying to take legal action against the parents because they didn't stop the kid from bullying. I feel like that's a dangerous slope too, because parents can't be watching kids all the time, and unless they're literally like coaching them on the bullying, I don't know how responsible a parent could be for everything that a child does, right?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like you got to really be paying attention. Of course, I don't have any kids, so it's easy for me to say like
Right.
no Facebook and Twitter when I don't have to deal with it.
Do your parents know everything you're doing right now?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, they
they're
do?
proud. They're writing the comments actually anonymously.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Probably.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we will.
What do you think? Do you think parents can be held responsible for some of this stuff?
I mean, I think that it's a parent's job to just raise the kid with values, you know, of kindness and you know, empathy, and to just teach them to sort of spread that message, you know, and to, again, talk their way out of things, to give them like a creative toolkit with which to solve problems. That helps. That goes a long way.
All right, people, when you're commenting on this, please use your creative toolkit. What was another buzzword you said there? Empathy.
Empathy is a buzzword these days.
And
yeah.
empathy. Use
Yeah.
a little empathy, would you? Okay, let's move on. I thought this was fascinating. So Wikipedia, which you guys know, it's the crowdsourced encyclopedia that we all now go to for everything. And basically, whenever you Google anything, the first thing that comes up is the Wikipedia entry. They've made an admission that the site is being manipulated by PR people and what they're calling sock puppets, who are using false identities to change what we thought were facts. Let's look at a quote from the Wikipedia people. It looks like a number of user accounts, perhaps as many as several hundred, may have been paid to write articles on Wikipedia promoting organizations or products and have been violating numerous site policies and guidelines, including prohibitions against sock puppetry and undisclosed conflicts of interests. That's Sue Gardner, who's the executive director of the Wikipedia Foundation. This has nothing to do with real sock puppets, I'm pretty sure. This is just a term that they're using. This doesn't really surprise me. Does this surprise you guys at any level whatsoever?
No, I mean, how is this now just becoming a thing? Like, anybody can edit a Wikipedia profile anonymously even, like...
How could she say hundreds, by the way?
Right.
I personally could go and find hundreds that
Right.
are totally made up.
Exactly.
But I mean, I think it's interesting. It's that when you look at Wikipedia, anybody can create those pages. And you know, oftentimes when I have somebody who I'm interviewing or I'm meeting somebody for the first time, I look at their Wikipedia page, and it is always just glowing.
Yeah.
This guy's the greatest. They
Right.
had best smile in elementary school. And I think that guy wrote that,
Right.
or his girlfriend wrote it, or whoever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not
makes
surprising
sense.
to me. Certainly.
Right, okay, so we're all agreed this is pretty obvious that this kind of thing is happening. So how dangerous is it, just the general idea of crowdsourcing facts? Because I feel like nobody believes the government anymore. Nobody believes the mainstream media. So now if we can't believe our crowdsourced facts, who do you believe, actually? That's the real question here. Who do you really get facts from that you feel like is an honest arbiter
You.
of facts? Besides me,
The Young Turks,
provided-
Rubin Report, Riot, of course.
Riot,
Acting Disrupted. That's a great place to do it too.
Yeah.
I mean, who trusts Wikipedia in the first place? It is a great tool for people.
But don't
to
you
be
think a
able to
lot
use.
of people do?
Yeah, but I mean, you can see through some of it, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know, but it's
Yeah.
you never see something on Wikipedia that's just really against somebody else. You know, I mean, it's pretty straight up glowing.
Occasionally
the
you
whole time.
do, though, and
Do
it's
you?
really interesting. Sometimes you'll read something personal.
Like your
about
Wikipedia
something.
page.
Like
Yeah,
my
lot of
Wikipedia
hate
is
on
totally,
there.
yeah, a lot of hate, a lot of hate. Yeah, no, it's shocking that this is now just becoming a thing. I mean, I thought that publicists all the time went to Wikipedia pages, and
Right.
I want to know who this community of regular Wikipedia editors are.
Okay, so let's talk
Yeah.
about that. So there are 250,000 volunteer editors. These are the guys that are keeping tabs on this whole thing. So is that part of the problem too? So it's not only that anyone can do it, but then the editing pool, 250,000 people. That's a crazy amount of people.
Again, 250,000, and then only 200 seem to be not accurate in
Yeah,
that
that
thing. To me, it doesn't make sense. That should be 250,000 times 2 that they make every single day.
Yeah.
For their high school teacher, the geometry teacher, the local coach.
Yeah. Okay. So the obvious answer then is that they could have you register somehow and prove your credentials or something like that. But then isn't the danger in that it takes away? There's something about the anonymity of it, I suppose, or there's something about the general openness that makes it what it is. So that if you make people register, are you going to lose something? I'm not even sure.
To me, it seems like there's this surprise about, when somebody says, what do you mean, Facebook has privacy issues or Twitter has privacy issues? You go, well, of course it does. Or Google is actually looking through your emails. Well, of course it does. Anybody who doesn't think that there's, some sort of privacy on the internet or some sort of, objectivity with Wikipedia, it's just, I think those people are coming from it. Those are the guys who built the Obamacare website, the first version of it. So
yeah.
I don't, for people who grew up in the tech side, I don't think there's any surprise. And, who are these 250,000 people who are editing these pages? Are they professors? Are they Nobel laureates? I mean,
no, I'm pretty sure they're.
How are they in charge?
I'm pretty sure most of them are unemployed. Because what else would you do? Right. How else would you have the time? Do you have the time to be editing other people's Wikipedia?
I wish.
I wish I had that kind of time too. Yeah. All right. But so I sort of alluded to this earlier. But really, how much of this is sort of the government's fault with the whole NSA thing? Because we just don't trust our institutions anymore. I mean, do you guys trust just the basic, besides our 3 shows, of course? I mean, do you guys trust just the basic? I don't even trust NBC News. Back in the day, they would say if you lost, or in Vietnam, if you lost Walter Cronkite, you lost America. And it's like, who do you trust now that you would actually turn something on and be like, I mean, Jon Stewart? I mean, is it us and Jon Stewart?
I mean, I think it's anybody's game, and it's changing a lot right now. But certainly the traditional media hasn't been working. It's failed people. It's let a lot of people down, and that's why that's why what you guys are doing is really great, and what Riot's trying to do is really great as well. And when you see, Vice doing their thing, and BuzzFeed, and all those, and Gawker showing up and doing great reports, I think investigative journalism hopefully is coming back. What Glenn Greenwald is working on coming up, I think it should be a really interesting thing too. But yeah, it has to change. It can't just be this corporate old media guard anymore, because people don't trust it.
I got nothing to add to that. That was a pretty good summation. You got anything there?
No.
All right, pretty good. Okay, well, you're going to have something to talk about with this one. I think this is really, really great. So Google engineering director and futurist Ray Kurzweil believes we are close to living in immortality, and he's working on it on his own body right this second. He takes 150 vitamins a day, and he's sort of broken down how he believes he is going to live forever. And he talks about 3 bridges. So we're going to break them down. Let's look at the first one. So bridge 1 is to stay as healthy as possible with diet and exercise and current medicine. Okay, that seems pretty standard. Nothing. He's not reinventing the wheel, right? Eat right, exercise. Okay, pretty good. Bridge 2 is the biotechnology revolution, where we can reprogram biology away from disease. Max, I know this is your department. So can you break down Bridge 2 for us a little bit?
Yeah, Bridge 2, we're sort of at the cusp now where a lot of sort of gene therapies, the price is coming down. Like you can already have your entire genome decoded. You can go to 23andme.com. So aside from just fitness and nutrition and supplementation, we'll get to a point where technology can actually, intervene and cure a lot of the ills that people are faced with, from diseases to aging itself. I think nanotechnology is involved in Bridge 3. Is that? Yeah.
Yes. Let's talk about Bridge 3. Bridge 3 is to go beyond biology to the nanotechnology revolution. At that point, we can have little robots called nanobots that augment your immune system. We can create an immune system that recognizes all disease, and if a new disease emerged, it could be reprogrammed to deal with new pathogens. Every time I think of nanobots, it reminds me of, did you guys ever play Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation or on Nintendo or something? It was all about nanobots.
I didn't play that.
That you didn't play that one? That was great. Great game. All right.
Ray Kurzweil played that.
He obviously did. So literally, robots are going to be inside of us.
Yeah, but they're not going to look like robots as we think of them today. They're going to be infinitely smaller than our iPhones, infinitely smarter and cheaper. So you'll actually, they could, in effect, take on like a fluid-like nature, and you inject yourselves with them, and you have got little nanobots, coursing through your veins, repairing damage at a genetic level.
Right.
And I think it's really exciting. Okay,
so I don't want to get too into the science of it, because I think it's going to go over everybody's head, not your head, but probably our heads.
I'm already lost.
So, so is this the most natural and human thing possible, that we're using science to extend life, or is this the reverse of that, because dying is a part of life?
Boy, that's a really big question.
That's a good one for you. Take that.
I mean, for me, it's a pretty exciting thing when you basically talk about how you can reboot your whole system and change. He talks about changing the operating system and reprogramming it, where you can go in and turn genes on and off. I think that's how it works. And so, I mean, if you've lost loved ones from something that's potentially preventable by doing this, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people sort of, when they hear him, say that he wants to be immortal and cure aging, that's when people get weirded out. I think that that's an amazing thing to aim for. Like, who wants to age? We sort of think of death as this thing that's in the distant future, but like getting there requires like your joints not working as well as they used to, or seeing your loved ones die, and I think that that's all horrible, and I love where his heart is, that he's trying to sort of put an end to that.
But is there something about the human experience that then we could potentially be losing if you can live forever? I mean, we do have a circle of life that has worked for,
the fact that we covet life because it's limited, I don't think so. Like Woody Allen says, life gives meaning to life, not death,
But I also do, it does beg the question about who, gets access to these things. So then eventually it just becomes kind of, rich people or privileged people or white people probably.
Yeah, but the thing about technology is that it lifts all boats, Like I think that, at the beginning, some of these technologies usually are reserved for, the wealthier. But I mean, I was talking about 23andMe. At first, when that service launched, it was $1,000 to decode your DNA, and now it's either $99 or $199. It's like wildly cheap.
Right.
This watch that I'm wearing right now is tracking all kinds of biometrics, and it's $200. It's like available.
What do we need to know? What's on that
really?
thing? Is it tracking our biometrics or your biometrics?
Mine. It's got my heart rate. It's tracking perspiration, body temperature. It's pretty cool. Yeah, and it's so cheap.
Yeah.
It's like crazy.
So what does that tell you, though? That just sort of is a general, I'm this healthy or something?
Well, it's part of what people call the quantified self movement. The more you can know about your biology, the better, so that you can reprogram it. You can look out for certain things that maybe your parents had that you don't want to catch, To
me, there was when I was reading about what Kurzweil was talking about this, he said that there's, a very simple thing that we can do right away, which is almost to program our genes to process fat, to process how we, get fat, basically. So there's a, he talks about in the very close future where you'll just be able to take a pill that basically helps you metabolize. So you can eat McDonald's and crap, but then just metabolize it differently.
Well, because the way we evolved, we have this fat insulin receptor gene, which holds on to everything that we eat because there might be a fast coming up. There might be a long period where we can't find any food, but that gene today is obsolete. There's food everywhere.
Right.
So why wouldn't you want to like suppress that gene so that you could eat whatever you want and your old, outdated biological software doesn't want to just hold on to it?
Yeah. Now, okay, so I'm a big sci-fi guy, and we've talked about this on the show many times. I'm a firm believer that the robots will come and destroy us one day, or enslave us, or some kind of Terminator-style stuff. So if we start putting these robots, even though they're not robots as we think of them, in our bodies, I mean, ultimately, I see there's a big window for a lot of bad stuff to happen. I mean, why can't they just turn on us and all that whole thing?
Ray actually always uses the metaphor of fire. Fire can either burn you or cook your food. It's really up to humans to dictate the course of where technology takes us as a species. But I'm optimistic, like you are, and like you are, I'm sure. And I think that like we'll make the best of it. We'll use it to cure aging. It's when it gets complicated when business interferes, and a profit motive is what's pursued rather than innovation for innovation itself. But
I think they do talk about these two different ideas of singularity. One where we sort of blend and become half man, half robot, and then the other one where there is a moment where, since robots are controlled, this artificial intelligence shows up and is controlling. Then what need do they have for humans anymore on the planet if we're just sort of looking at us like we're another part of the sickness or disease? That I can't start thinking about.
Right, it's a lot to think about. Because wouldn't we just be like some variable that can't be controlled?
We would be a virus.
The robots don't need us. And then that's that.
Is that what that video game was about? Or a different one? It was the Terminator.
Yeah, that was the Terminator mostly, but yeah. Well, I guess we've given you a lot to think about here.
Minds are blown.
Minds are totally blown. Thanks to Max Lugavere, Bryn Mooser. Their Twitter feeds are right. Twitter feeds. Do people say feeds? Their Twitter handles are right below. Don't forget to subscribe. You just got to click it, and then you're subscribed, and you'll just get the videos. There you go. Thanks for watching. We'll do it again next week. Hey guys, don't forget the Rubin Report is brought to you by Coupaw.com. They've got up to 75% off pet treats, toys, and more. And if you use code RR, you can get another 20% off. That's a lot off. There is a link in the description right down below. Code RR, 20% off. Make your pet happy.